We are now officially at 12:30, so our start time. I want to welcome all of you to our webinar today. This is another installment in our webinar series highlighting technology and our vendor partnerships in the cloud arena. Today, we'll be sharing how Cox Business Cloud Solutions and VeloCloud can help simplify edge networking management with SD-WAN. We hope you find this webinar valuable and hope to give you a clear understanding of the value of the partnership between Cox Business Cloud Services and VeloCloud. My name is Joe Kiefer. I'm the Director of Sales for Cox Business Cloud Solutions, and I'm joined today by Roland Zakaria, who's a solution engineer with Cox Business Cloud, and Michael Leonard, who's a senior product marketing manager for VeloCloud at VMware. Real quickly, some housekeeping, and before we get started, I want to let you know the session's being recorded and will be available following the session for review or to refer to or to share with folks that you think need to hear about SD-WAN and how we implement it. So next slide. Oh, apologies, real quickly. If you have a question throughout the process, there's a chat function there on the bottom. Please enter your question, and we'll get back to. We'll respond either in this meeting, or if we need to, we'll get back to you afterwards. I'd like to kick off our meeting with a brief overview of Cox Cloud Services and how we came to be. Our company's goal has been to provide our customers as much value as possible by providing services that allow customers to focus on the more critical business processes that drive their productivity, their capability, and their reach. So to do that, we decided it made sense to expand our capabilities to include cloud services. Instead of trying to develop and build that expertise internally, we found a great partner in the space and acquired RapidScale back in 2018. They were already a leader in the industry and serve to accelerate our capabilities with cloud services. Combining RapidScale's cloud expertise with the stability that comes from being a family-owned, privately held business and a world-class network gives us the competitive advantage to meet your needs on a grand scale. So like Cox, RapidScale has always been laser-focused on customer satisfaction, as evidenced by their high score of 4.8 on a scale to 5. Next slide. So in addition to SD-WAN, which will be the primary focus of our discussion today, Cox Business Cloud Solutions provides the underlay network and a suite of cloud capabilities, including DAS, IaaS, DRaaS, virtual security. We also have the engineering and design expertise to help our customers take advantage of the capabilities of VeloCloud. We'll help you design and implement the infrastructure that will allow you to take advantage of your current cloud investments and give you a roadmap or a path to adopt new cloud investments. Next slide. Before I kick this over to Michael, I want to brag a little bit about his company. Cox Business, I think we chose our SD-WAN partner carefully, but as you can see from this chart, we also chose wisely. From an ability to execute and a completeness of vision, VeloCloud is clearly the leader in SD-WAN. Cox Business Cloud Solutions is a platinum partner of VeloCloud, and the partnership between our network capabilities, our implementation and design support, VeloCloud's SD-WAN appliance, and our focus on delivering exceptional customer support will be difficult for any vendor to match. And I think that combination should give you the comfort you deserve to select who you ultimately decide to partner with. So now I'll turn it over to Michael to take us through Velo.
Hey, thank you, Joe, and welcome everyone. And yeah, Joe, it's really a pleasure to be here and to talk about this partnership with Cox Business. I think that people will find that VMware SD-WAN by VeloCloud is a great complement to all of the different services that you offer. We can ensure that they can connect to those services with reliability and high performance by incorporating SD-WAN into the overall solution. And especially they'll benefit from having a company like Cox Business manage the solution for them. So if we can go on to the next slide, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the trends in the marketplace. And these are some of the reasons why we developed VeloCloud a few years back in 2013. So, years ago when your WAN was first designed, the architecture was less complex than it is now. Application traffic flowed between the data center and the branch office in a hub and spoke model. But more recently, your traffic flows have been changing. You've been moving your applications to the cloud, and you've been using software as a service, and you're getting more cloud services that are quite often hosted by your service provider like Cox Business. And one of them that's quite interesting to us, of course, is the virtual desktop, the EUC, as VMware has a very well-known solution for that, and VeloCloud works together with it. So the result is that much of your application traffic now is going to the internet, but the WAN really was built to connect branch offices to the data center, and typically over service provider virtual private networks. With your applications going to the cloud, this isn't efficient anymore. The cloud is accessed over the internet, but performance on the internet isn't optimal. And so the wide area network really needs to change. And if we look at it, there are a lot of challenges with legacy networks that need to be fixed to enable this migration to the cloud. Legacy networks, like those built on MPLS, take a long time to get provisioned, and they're often costly and have limited bandwidth. And even though they're relatively reliable, they do sometimes go down. Managing a legacy network is difficult. It can be expensive, as you need highly trained staff and a lot of time. And the network's complex, as you have different connection types, you don't have good visibility, it's different to tune the network. And so as a result, your traffic flow can be less than optimal. And you may not know how your applications are performing or where issues are on the network. And then things only get worse as you add more applications that are accessed from more locations, especially when they're accessed from the cloud. And so this means the transport costs can go higher, application performance can be impacted by bandwidth constraints and congestion, and your organization might be disrupted by application downtime. So to solve these issues, the WAN needs to transform, and it should transform just like your data centers have. This transformation's been happening for some time now in the data center with, way back when with server virtualization, but more recently with network virtualization. And I know many of you have moved to modular containerized type applications, which may exist in more than one location. They might be in your own data center in the cloud, hosted by your service provider. And so data centers have become software defined because you need increased agility and scalability. And a lot of organizations now are looking for that same agility in how they access applications over the WAN. As they deploy new applications, they want to optimize the connectivity to them. They need performance and reliability over these connections. And then you have innovations like the Internet of Things, increases in mobility. A lot of people these days are working from home. Organizations are turning up remote field offices on very short time scales. And you have a lot of growth in data. So there's a lot of things to deal with. So as a result, the network edge has really become this new frontier for information technology transformation. Before SD-WAN, the WAN was changing some, but it was incremental. It wasn't fast enough. And some new options emerged, like doing hybrid WAN with your router, but that really is kind of complex to set up and to manage. And then there were some fixes to single function problems, like WAN optimization over private networks. But over the last few years, SD-WAN has really emerged as the real solution to these issues. But as you look at an SD-WAN solution, it's important to find the right one that's a good fit for you, and to find the right provider to get it from. And so if we think about it with the WAN, we want the same kind of goals as for applications in the cloud. We want automation and intelligence in the network, and we want agility. We want to be able to adapt the network quickly. And the WAN needs to be interoperable with the existing network. That's not going to go away, but our goal is to take complexity out of the underlying network and then provide an easy way to manage your traffic flows using SD-WAN. So your SD-WAN therefore needs to be extensible, it needs to be scalable, and you need to be able to deploy it incrementally. And managing multiple transports, these underlying links, really should be easy. You should be able to set policies to send traffic to the data center over private links, or send it directly to the cloud over the internet from your branch office. And that should be done without you having to intervene. And it really should be possible using abstract transport types to not require a detailed knowledge of the underlying network. And the solution really should be designed to make managing of the quality of experience easy. And to do this, it needs to be application and user-centric, not location and device-centric. So if we go on now and we look at the components of VMware SD-WAN, you'll see it's built on 3 different components. And it's a solution that really brings the needed innovation to the WAN to enable the IT transformation, meaning to simplify your IT processes and enable your migration to the cloud. So it's built on the 3 components, the first one being the VeloCloud Edge device. And this is a simple router type device that connects to the wide area network. They're very easy to deploy. The process is automated using templates. And so with these edge devices, you can turn up branch office locations and remote sites very quickly. And then you have the VeloCloud gateways. Now, VMware hosts a lot of these gateways to be used by our enterprise customers, but in the case of Cox Business, they host gateways on your behalf, and these direct traffic to where it needs to go, and they do it in a very simplified manner, so you don't need to worry about them. They're out there in the network, and they connect to your applications in the cloud, and they prevent things happening like backhaul to the corporate data center over your limited private links. And they can be used to connect, well, say in the case of Cox, to ensure that your traffic goes over their priority backbone network and then connects directly to the cloud backbone network. So you're getting an optimal path, you're getting your performance assured all of the time. And then the third component is the VeloCloud Orchestrator. And this manages the provisioning of the edge devices, so it really saves time in setting them up, and it keeps them configured properly. It can tell if something's happened to them, if somebody fiddled with them, it can put them back to their proper state. And the orchestrator is used, to set up policies for prioritization of the applications on the network to make sure that your most important applications get the best performance. And the orchestrator also provides visibility into the entire application and network stack, so you can see what's going on. And you'll hear more about that later. Since Cox Business hosts the orchestrator, they can customize it to suit exactly the kind of service that you need from it. So if we go now to the next slide, we'll see that SD-WAN really solves these challenges in the network. It's a virtual overlay over the physical network, and it's transport independent. It can work with any network type. There's no changes required to the underlying network. And it enables connectivity, to your data centers, to your software as a service applications, to your infrastructure as a service via the cloud-hosted gateways. And the VeloCloud solution's unique, in this approach of having the cloud-hosted gateways that can take the intelligence from the edge device that's put onto it from the orchestrator, and then use that to make sure that your traffic's going the right way. And so this really increases the network reliability, and it reduces the time spent on network management, and really helps to reduce or eliminate the chance of application downtime. So the VeloCloud Edge device can bond multiple links, and it can bond multiple links of any type. So you can have more than one link out at the branch network, and you can have one that, say, goes back to your data center, or one that goes out to the cloud. And the Edge device provides, continuous link monitoring. As it detects congestion, it moves the traffic to the best link. And these links can be active-active. So you're always getting the value. It's not like the old way on a router of having active-passive. and you don't have to wait for the failover. It's all done seamlessly. So you get uptime, you get the failover, but you don't even notice it happening. And so, and these devices also can detect issues, on the network, even if it's over one link, and provide error correction. So this really means that you get a quality user experience, even if you don't have the best link quality, even if something happens on the network. So really the goal for SD-WAN is to enable your IT transformation, and it does it in a number of ways. In the branch, you're able to leverage lower cost WAN links. You can go direct over broadband out to the internet. You can use any connection type, and you can get the same performance and reliability as you expect from the private networks. You can use wireless links like LTE. So if you really need to connect a location quickly where a landline may not be available, you can do that. And these devices can replace your legacy router. If you're looking at a router refresh and you decide that you don't need all of the capabilities, you can just go with the VMware Edge device. And it's typically less expensive than the router and easier to manage. And it's possible to run other services on it. If you can use the virtual network function, and if you need to, and if you work, with Cox and they offer those kind of services, you can simplify the branch by running other services on there. And as I mentioned with the orchestrator, you get a look at what's going on. You can see the application performance, bandwidth utilization, what links your traffic's taking. So you have that top to bottom view that a lot of people told me they need to go into various consoles and then put together a mental picture. You get a whole screen full with SD-WAN, so you can really see what's going on. So that's it. Hope this has helped for you to understand how you can really get performance and reliability and an optimal user experience by moving to SD-WAN. And now over to Roland to tell you a little bit more about what Cox Business can do for you.
Well, thank you, Michael. I really appreciate that. And so here at Cox Business, we're trying to make this available as a product and simplify it as easy as possible. From the Cox Business side, we can certainly provide the standard connectivity options that's usually available, whether it's fiber internet, the broadband internet, layer 2, layer 3 private networks, and within market, of course. If you're going outside of market, or there's locations that's not necessarily within the Cox Business footprint, what we can do is we can leverage our partnerships out there and grab type 2 and type 3 circuits to tie in again to this SD-WAN platform. As Michael mentioned previously, there is an option for LTE backup. Currently, we do have 4G LTE available today, 5G coming soon. As part of the implementation process, again, part of the simplification of this whole scenario, we can do one of two things. We can provide professional installation, or in the case of self-installation, the devices have been pre-provisioned within the orchestrator. And so what you will need to do is to activate the device, tie it into a connection that has access to the internet, and it will automatically self-configure based on the optimized configuration that we have spec'd out with you and your team, as well as applied specific policies to optimize application delivery and application traffic. Moving forward, as part of this scenario, we can definitely do some land side consulting as well. We can take a look at how these SD-WAN devices are bringing analytics to each location, taking a look at those analytics and seeing how we can optimize traffic flows, or maybe even potentially move specific environments directly out to the internet, depending on what works best for that specific scenario. All these features are, of course, easily accessible through the orchestrator. One of the things that we do slightly different here with Cox Business Cloud Solutions versus other providers is to do a hybrid management approach. We are fully responsible for the environment. We're fully responsible for your SD-WAN implementation, But also at the same time, we also can give you read-only or admin-level access to that same platform. That gives you, again, the same capabilities as our engineers have in the background to manage and monitor the environment, give you the analytics that you're looking for, and of course, be able to make changes as you deem fit. Part of this offering does offer circuit management. That circuit management goes above and beyond just giving access to the portal itself. With a certain products within the SD-WAN portfolio, what we can do is we can also manage downtime or problematic scenarios. We can certainly troubleshoot that on your behalf, extend out the service calls or open tickets on your behalf to the carrier itself, should that be necessary. And of course, all this is tied in together via the customer portal. The customer portal is accessible to all customers of the Cox Business Cloud Solutions platform. And next slide, please, Nikki. And within this platform, from a VeloCloud or an SD-WAN perspective, we can definitely see all the connected devices and all devices that may not necessarily be activated within your network, things such as cold spares or maybe potentially devices that hasn't been onboarded for a new location. This portal is also a gateway to all our other services as well. As Joe mentioned earlier in this meeting, we do have other services such as infrastructure as a service, desktop as a service, cloud, other cloud features such as 365 application management, and also things like security, backup, and DR. All this can be seen in a single pane of glass. Billing and consumption is shown in real time for the most part. And of course, one of the things that the portal will show you is upcoming features and add-ons to the services that you have available today. As you drill down specifically to the SD-WAN component of it, the details view will show the devices by location, the carrier and network providers that's attached to it, analytics around the quality of those connections, and of course, visual representations of how those connections are being leveraged today, whether there are brownout conditions, any disconnects, any latency issues, and of course, things like drop packets and the like are represented. So one of the things that we wanted to do is go over two different case studies, one being this construction services company based in the East Coast. They do have quite a few employees, roughly about 800 and counting, and today they have 11 branches. The real difficulty that they have here is simplifying management. They've been proactively acquiring companies over the last couple of years. So there's a combination of several different challenges that they're that they're seeing as part of that implementation. Number one, consolidating the network. Their internal core network is sound with Cox services, but as they're acquiring these new companies, they're coming across contracts with local carriers that may not be with Cox, and tying those networks together to the core branches is one of the problems that they've come across as part of that process. And also one of the issues that they've had is extending applications out directly to these branches. Local branches that's built as part of the core network can certainly do that without too many issues, but as they added new sites, being able to extend that network out, being able to guarantee performance on applications have been difficult. With the SD-WAN implementation, one of the things that we did for them is to proactively analyze their needs. One of the biggest issues that they've seen in trying to engage third-party providers is being able to right-size and find the right solution for their application stack. We did that roughly with a quick turnaround of 2 weeks, gave them several different options around the SD-WAN implementation, around how we could absorb existing contracted services from a carrier and connection perspective, and of course, gave them a future roadmap as to how to integrate that into Cox offerings in the future should those contracts expire. As part of that, they did get a lot of the SD-WAN feature set, DMPO or Dynamic Multi-Link Optimization, being able to optimize or move application traffic between two or more connections, depending on what's available. They reduce latency across those multiple hops to those additional acquired companies. And of course, with our management simplified the taxation of how much work was added to their staff. We acted as an extension of their IT team, and of course, with that, they took full advantage of it, handing off full management and, of course, optimization of the entire network to Cox Business Cloud Solutions. The second scenario here is basically a short-term loan companies. They have quite a few locations in the Las Vegas region as well as surrounding states. The biggest issue with this specific scenario is that there are only 3 people in the IT team, and they're very knowledgeable. They're very smart people, but really it's a matter of time and a matter of reach. These locations are very, very regionally diverse for the most part, and it's very difficult for them to get from location to location. Some of these locations do have internet connections from local providers that are not necessarily the most stable. And so what we did for them on their behalf is leverage out a 57-site SD-WAN implementation with LTE backup. The idea being that all items within the Cox footprint will be moved to higher quality Cox internet connections. With the LTE backup, we can certainly leverage that DMPO, or being able to weave multiple connections together and reduce brownout conditions, reduce negative performance situations that they were experiencing previously. Now, this is actually a very interesting use case scenario in that, once they moved to SD-WAN, they also moved a lot of their security services, such as firewalls and front-end web application security, to Cox Business Cloud Solutions as well. Seeing, a lot of the support and implementation processes that goes into this implementation for the SD-WAN, for the security services, they decided to go ahead and place infrastructure as well as desktops with us as well. So as you can see, it's a very synergistic solution. We can certainly leverage SD-WAN to cover existing connectivity that's available at your locations today. We can certainly help optimize those connections. We can secure those connections above and beyond what's available within those providers themselves. And of course, if you do need to extend that to the cloud, we can provide additional infrastructure or additional support around those challenges as well. I think that's it for today. And Summer, I think I'll hand this back to you. If anyone has any questions, we're more than happy to answer it at this time. I think I see a few already.
Yes. Thank you, Roland, and thank you all the presenters. We do have a bunch of questions, so we'll just start going through them while we have time left. And if you guys do want to chat over any new ones, feel free to do that. So let's get started. Can Metro Ethernet be utilized with this SD-WAN solution?
So I can take that one, Summer. So Metro Ethernet is a layer 2, net layer 2 topology for the most part. And really the biggest issue with layer 2 topologies in general is if we are leveraging a flat topology, that means is each site is leveraging the same pool of IP addresses. That becomes a little bit problematic. The whole idea is we need to segment out the network. We have to, I guess, carve out specific subnets for each one of the sites prior to being able to implement the VeloCloud solution, the SD-WAN solution. SD-WAN in general is a layer 3 technology. It can handle a layer 2 network, assuming that it's been segmented properly.
Great. Do you need redundant internet connection from 2 different providers?
2 redundant providers is definitely a good option. We can certainly leverage that within the SD-WAN platform. We can also do the same provider if that's the only thing that's available. From a Cox Business perspective, a lot of their optical internet versus broadband internet is run across 2 separate underlay networks. And so for the most part, there are some redundancies built into that situation if you were to purchase an optical internet connection in addition to a broadband connection.
Hey, this is Joe, I'd like to jump in on that too. The question, do you need redundant internet connection providers is, it's really about the redundancy you're looking for. We could put, you think about the combinations at a location, an office location. Could be broadband and LTE. It could be a broadband connection and a P1 of internet from another provider. It could be broadband, DSL, and cable broadband. So the options are almost unlimited. The underlay network, it's really, can we get to the internet? And whatever you use to get there, we can accommodate in this SD-WAN design. What's important is really to understand, what are we trying to accomplish in terms of resiliency or redundancy or reliability. If you got a small office location where you're looking, or a large location where you're looking at 4 or 5 nines of reliability and redundancy, yeah, there's some good reasons to consider multiple vendors. But then if you think about it, if you plug it into a single device, or that device is plugged into a non-power protected power plant, this discussion is much bigger. In essentially what you should take away from this is, we can work with you guys, with the customer on design perspective, to give them the redundancy they need in mixing and matching an unlimited number of options and capabilities.
Yeah, and to add to Joe's point, we can certainly engineer high availability environments even at the local branch scenarios, from a power perspective, from a networking perspective behind the SD-WAN.
Great, thanks guys. The next up is, my understanding of SD-WAN is that it benefits larger networks with 500 plus locations. What is the benefit for the smaller guy with less than 30 plus locations?
I guess I'll take that. SD-WAN does benefit from a management perspective, large implementations like 500 plus sites. But really when it comes down to it, if you look at the core features, it's uptime and application performance. So if your 30 locations have a need to be online, and being down from that online scenario cost the business quite a bit, then SD-WAN might be a good solution for you to be able to guarantee, number one, that you're continually going to be available or tied to the internet, and number two, when that internet access is available, applications that you're accessing outside of that branch or outside of that location will come in at a performance that your users expect day to day. We can definitely optimize things like Office 365. We can optimize things that are going to a data center or a centralized office, whatever that looks like for your environment today. SD-WAN can help.
Yeah, hey, to add on to that as well, the number of locations, I don't know how important or critical that is. Really, what you should think about with SD-WAN is, this is an infrastructure that allows you to take advantage of the cloud. In every size business, you need to access business software. You want to have security. You want to have backup. You're going to have remote employees. You're going to have employees traveling, or customers that may need access to your network from their place of business. Think about SD-WAN. What it truly benefits, the size of the implementation isn't that critical. It's, are you moving to the cloud? Have you moved to the cloud? Are you going to take advantage of private or public cloud applications and services? SD-WAN is the infrastructure, it's the foundation that allows you to optimize those investments and those decisions.
Right, and we just keep having questions coming in, so we'll just keep using the remainder of our time. I would like to eliminate our excessive MPLS. Is this an MPLS killer?
So that's highly dependent on what you're leveraging MPLS for. Traditionally, MPLS is a low latency, high quality circuit, high SLAs around availability, and SD-WAN can certainly help mitigate that across, I guess, more cost effective options outside of MPLS. But if there is a need for MPLS around, let's say, compliance and security, SD-WAN can help with that too. It is these tunnels that SD-WAN will create from the orchestrator, from each branch location, from the data center, are all highly encrypted as well. But when it comes down to it, it's all based on the quality of the connections being fed to SD-WAN. Will that exceed your MPLS connection? That's something that certainly can be determined on a case-by-case basis. But ideally, if you're trying to replace an MPLS network, would like to sit down with you, see what your applications that you're running over that MPLS link, and then be able to give you some recommendations around it. MPLS can actually be used in conjunction with SD-WAN.
Awesome. Sorry, just finding which ones we haven't answered yet. How can SD-WAN benefit organizations with remote workers?
I can talk about that a little bit. We're seeing quite a trend towards remote workforce, and a lot of companies have told their office workers to stay home, and we're seeing organizations order SD-WAN devices for the home network, and it can be installed as easily as your home router. And the benefit is that you can segment the traffic and make sure that the home user traffic is separated from the work traffic. And you can reserve bandwidth for the business applications. So the policy, there's built-in policies that can be applied, and the VeloCloud device understands your different business applications. And so I would say security and bandwidth prioritization and ensuring performance. Now, if you have your broadband internet, say you have DSL over a wireline, but you may have LTE as well. You could have redundant links at home.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. Next up. So with the VeloCloud solution, will you be deploying hardware to our remote sites that you will own and manage?
So by default, what we can do is we will deliver all the hardware for all the locations as part of the order or as part of the implementation into the central office. If you do need professional installation, we can also provide for that. It's just the default, I guess, scenario from an operational deployment perspective is to ship to a single location with the devices already been pre-registered to the orchestrator, and the client at that point will plug it in to the internet connections at each site, and it will register with the orchestrator and self-install the configuration that has been pre-configured.
Great, thanks, Roland. Next up, how does SD-WAN exactly reduce overall WAN costs?
Well, I think go ahead, Michael.
Oh, I think we talked about that some. You have the option to replace MPLS, which can be more costly, but a lot of times customers leave it in place because it's going to their data center and it's reliable. You also reduce the overall management costs through the automation, the templates, and the like. And in some cases, you can replace your more expensive router. But I think it's important, if you're getting your SD-WAN from a provider like Cox Business too, they're freeing up a lot of your IT staff to go and do more important things. And they're, of course, experienced at, running these SD-WAN deployments. Another thing, as well, as you're getting this as a service, so you don't have to buy the equipment. You've got a subscription. And I think a really important one is reducing application downtime. You've got one place to go for problem resolution, and you have experts who are used to doing this kind of thing. So, a lot of times I get asked about the cost, and there are costs that can be calculated. You can calculate the cost of a link or the cost of a router, but downtime for your applications, for a very large organization, that could be in the millions of dollars per hour. So I would say the intangible costs can be even greater. The cost savings for intangible things can be even greater than the physical. Right.
And to add to Michael's answer there, this is something that I see out there in the field quite often. In the traditional MPLS or VPLS hub and spoke topology, a lot of the times, internet is drained out of a central location where it's a data center, the main office. And as these cloud applications requirements grow over time, those links need to be upgraded to keep up with those demands. Now, in this scenario, leveraging SD-WAN, you can certainly take up the requirements of those cloud-based applications or non-data center applications directly to the secondary circuit that you're going to be bringing in. And also, those secondary circuits are most likely a lot more cost-effective versus an upgrade of the same size and speed of that MPLS link. So there are several different ways we can definitely value engineer this. If there are any questions around that, I'm more than happy to, go over certain scenarios.
Great. And looks like we have time for a few more. So for the home use remote worker application, does the VeloCloud appliance have built-in Wi-Fi? If not, is that on the roadmap?
Some models have built-in Wi-Fi, but not all. So we'll have to get the right models for that purpose.
Yeah, and some have built-in LTE as well, or you can add a module, but most home routers already have Wi-Fi, so that shouldn't be an issue.
Great. Is there a minimum number of locations for this SD-WAN offering?
There isn't a minimum number of locations. We can certainly do single-site SD-WAN implementations if that's something that your customer is looking for. But there is some engineering that's involved as part of this scenario. We take those on a case-by-case basis. So more than happy to take a look and see what your use case looks like, and be able to point you in the right direction where it's SD-WAN or another path.
Great. What are the recommended up and down speeds?
There isn't really a recommended up and down speed per se. It's highly dependent on the applications that you're using and the amount of bandwidth that's required to run that effectively, and at the experience that you're expecting out of that scenario. Most SD-WAN implementations are a way to increase the quality, by adding additional connections. The speeds in of itself is not necessarily the limiting factor.
Yeah, I mean, the SD-WAN device typically is deployed to match the underlying network connectivity that you're paying for, right? But it can be adjusted as needed.
Okay. How does pricing work? Is it bandwidth-based, site-based, change-based, other?
It is licensed based on bandwidth, basically aggregate throughput. So what we like to do to right-size these is take a look at the amount of bandwidth that's being utilized on a per-site basis, and then size the appliance accordingly. We can also certainly size it based on the circuits that's available to that site, by adding up all the maximum capabilities of the circuits. But unless there's a need to use both simultaneously at roughly maximum capacity, it's very unlikely that we'll license it with that scenario in mind.
Okay. Can bandwidth be reduced with SD-WAN due to utilizing a direct fiber connection and a local coax connection?
Not quite sure what that question's asking, Summer. I guess bandwidth can be reallocated, by reducing maybe what the question meant is, they have an existing fiber connection today at a certain speed. They would like to kind of spread that around across two different connections. Can we reduce that fiber connection speed to a lower speed and leverage the secondary connection to move some of that traffic around? You can certainly do that in that scenario.
Awesome. And we will wrap up there. We have just 1 minute left, and I know there's a final slide we would like to cover for you guys.
Hey, thank you all very much for attending. Great discussion, a lot of great questions. Special shout out to Michael and Roland for joining us to help get through those questions and the content. We hope that you found this valuable. We understand that we have waded 1 inch into the pool of SD-WAN and cloud service. But if you want to talk to your account executive, you want to learn more, feel free to engage them directly. Or if you're not sure who to engage, you can go ahead and go to that website, coxbusiness.com/cloud. A form, a link to fill out, and we'll get somebody to follow up with you quickly. I would ask if you're interested. I joined as well. I think it's a great discussion group. If you'd like to join our new LinkedIn group called Cloud Q&A Conversations About Cloud, you just go ahead and plug that information in your search feature on LinkedIn. It'll take you right to that group. Sign up. You'll be able to see articles and communication, and also be able to share some feedback and ask some questions. So it's a great group. We'd love to have you participate. We would encourage you all to stay tuned for registration information for our next webinar on October 21st, where we'll cover identity as a service. We hope to see you all there. As always, we'd love to hear your feedback. We want to make this valuable and interesting and important to you and what you're doing on a daily basis. We'd love to extend the conversation on SD-WAN. The recording will be available. And with that, I hope you all have a great rest of the day.
Right.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.